All right, it's time to talk about Redskins. The Redskins Report with Trevor Matich is brought to you by Fork Union Military Academy. Well, this weekend, it's time for the Redskins to face off against the 1-0 Rams. Trevor, lay out the conflict and how it's likely to go. Did we make the adjustments? I mean, Coach Gruden said last week after the loss that, well, we got a lot to build on. Did he build on it this week?
I think so. When you look at last game, they really lost last week because of two reasons. The special teams gave up a long touchdown on a kick return, and they missed a field goal, a makeable field goal. And then in the second half, the offense had too many penalties, and that killed drives. Those things are correctable. The rest of the team, the running game, the passing of Kirk Cousins, the defense in general played well enough to win. So, yes, those are easily correctable.
All right, you said they missed a field goal, and that's true, and they got rid of Kai Forbath. Is that a good decision?
I think so. I think at this point...
Well, he's had one of the best records in Redskins history.
Yeah, and the thing is, they wanted someone that could hit longer field goals and on kickoffs more reliably put it through the end zone. Kai Forbath was reliable, but inside of about 40 yards. And here was a game where a 46-yard field goal was needed, and he didn't hit it. And so I think what they're looking for is they're sacrificing some consistency on the shorter game to try to get overall better range and more capability.
All right.
So if the casual fan is tuning in this Sunday and they want to know who to, there was a time the last couple of years where like casual fans would tune in and watch number 10 because RG3 was the big star. Who should the casual fan be sort of watching right now in terms of who might break out as the icon for the Redskins this season?
As the icon for the Redskins, I would watch for Chris Thompson, number 25 running back. I would like to see him get more receptions. The thing about him is that he's different in style from Alfred Morris and Matt Jones, in that he's a smaller guy who is really quick and explosive and has the ability to make big plays. Now, he only had three runs last week. From a standpoint of catches, if they target him more, I see, because he didn't have a catch last week, he has the ability to change things for the defense because a linebacker has to cover him, and he's too quick out in space. So watch for number 25.
It's interesting that you didn't immediately say the quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Is Kirk Cousins going to be a quarterback that manages the team and gets the job done, but will not be spectacular and a playmaker?
That's what he needs to be now, but it's enough to do that now. Keep in mind that the Redskins' offensive line and running backs really dominated the game from their perspective. They ran the ball exceptionally well. Then when you look at the receivers that the Redskins have, it's as good a group. It's one of the better groups in the NFL. I mean, they're very good at wide receiver. They're deep at wide receiver, especially when Deshaun Jackson comes back fully healthy. Mm-hmm. So all he needs to do is manage the game and dump the ball off or throw it downfield to those guys and let them be the heroes. The two interceptions that he threw in the last game, one of them was just a great play by a defender, and the other one was miscommunication with his tight end. And so, I think Kirk Cousins should be perfectly satisfied, and so should Redskins fans, if he is not spectacular, and if he just gets the ball out of his hand quickly. He did it, and if it weren't for the penalties in the second half, even with the two interceptions, they played well enough to win on offense.
All right, so listen, let's go through the injury list because that's always a major factor here.
Yeah, injuries are a problem. The secondary has been decimated. You've got Justin Rogers didn't practice. He's got a problem. D'Angelo Hall has sore ribs. He was limited. Trent Williams was limited in practice, the left tackle, because of an ankle injury. And that's a real problem.
That's a real concern, right?
Yeah, because remember what happened in the preseason when he missed the game due to injury. The entire offense broke down because they just didn't have anybody that could pick it up. And keep this in mind about the defensive line of the Rams. We talked last week about Ndamukong Suh, defensive lineman of the Miami Dolphins, who is one of the beasts in the NFL. They did a good job controlling Suh last week. This Rams defensive line has 5 first-round draft choices. All 4 starters are first-round draft choices, including the guy coming over the left tackle. So this is a point of interest to see if Trent Williams is going to be limited with that ankle.
But if they have a secondary that's decimated with injuries, how might the Rams take advantage of that?
Well, Nick Foles last week, remember the Rams beat Seattle last week. They beat the Seattle Seahawks in their opener. And Nick Foles, their quarterback, had a better passer rating than Russell Wilson, the Super Bowl winning quarterback a couple of years ago of the Seahawks. And so if the secondary is hurt, then it's going to rely more and more on the pass rush. And so it's kind of dicey. This could turn into a game where whichever receivers are able to make the bigger plays has the edge. But I give that edge to the Redskins receivers. I'm not afraid of Nick Foles.
Meanwhile, the Redskins had a lot of penalties last week, and Gruden said that was one of the big problems. That's one of the things he wants to fix this week. How do you fix that? How do you fix not having penalties? You would think that every player knows the rules of the game, and they're all going to follow the rules. Do they work on that at practice? What did they do?
Well, you focus in on it. I mean, some of the penalties were dumb penalties, pre-snap penalties that aren't necessary. Some of them were just normal in the course of a game. There's an occasional holding penalty that you just understand.
But you were a snapper, Trevor. How do those? It confounds me why we get those pre-snap penalties. Is it because the quarterback is misunderstood, can't be heard? Is it because alignment aren't focusing? What happens there?
No, it's because you're focused on what you need to do, and you jump off sides or you line up wrong, and so you're focused on what's going to happen after the snap, and you lose focus on before the snap. But the thing about it, you're right. I mean, these guys have been in football for a long time, and they know the rules. They know what to do. Some penalties in football are okay, but the only way to really fix it is just to refocus on it mentally, because physically there's nothing you need to do to coach to change the penalties that occur. You just need to focus on staying within those rules.
All right, and so your prediction for the game very quickly, because we're almost out of time.
I think the Redskins win because they're going to come out desperate here. 3 of the next 4 are on the road.
All right. Trevor Matich, and the
Trevor.
Redskins Report is brought to you by Fork Union Military Academy. Thanks, Trevor.